Hello and welcome to Massive Implications, the show where every 2 weeks we do a deep dive into a topic or question that of course brings with it massive implications to be dealt with. I'm your host, Joe Quinn, and with me, as always, is my good host.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jake and then I'd go hi. But my name is Jake.
Yep. It certainly is. And this week, we're discussing what if you can bring people back from the dead?
So to get us right back into where we directly started with this is, of course, the topic of resurrecting people from the dead. Yep. Now, for clarity, we got to talk about this a little bit.
Yep.
We've kind of decided not to include, personal family members because
a
couple reasons. One, when we each pick a guy, we each have 5 people that we've decided to bring back. But when we each pick a guy, the other is going to play devil's advocate a little bit, trying to poke holes with it and have a little bit of a debate. Right. We're not going to do that with family members. But also, the audience has no idea who my grandma is, you know?
Exactly.
So it's got to be people know. Historical figures, I suppose.
Right. And another clarification.
Yep.
Another quick clarification. We are bringing these people back from their prime.
We can choose.
Oh, we can choose.
The way I had it phrased was we can choose. But you know what? To check an age of one person, I will agree with that. We can do the prime.
I feel when I say bring them back into the prime, they still keep their memories from up to when they die.
Yes.
They die.
Yep.
But it's not fair to
okay.
Bring back.
Oh yeah, I'm chill then. I'm chill.
Like Albert Einstein, who was he died in his 80s.
Yep.
I think somewhere around there. Not that I'm picking Albert Einstein, but just as an example.
Yep.
Anyways, I guess since I'll just start us off.
Start us off. Who's your number 5 guy?
Number 5 guy. Oh, you know what? I didn't really have these ranked.
Oh, okay.
But I can rank them in my head real quick.
In your head, who's the least important guy? The
least important guy. And I'm sorry, honey. I asked Emma who she would want to bring back.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she'd really like to bring back John Entwistle from her favorite band, The Who.
Okay.
So,
refresh me. Who is this?
So he is one of the members of the band The Who.
Oh, thanks.
A band that I'm not very familiar with. All that I know is that he is her favorite member of The Who.
Okay.
But unfortunately, he passed away probably due to a heart attack from overdosing on coke.
Probably?
Is
it an alleged? Are we not sure?
Well, from what I remember her telling me, I could have looked this up. But I just needed a replacement person really quick.
Okay, fair.
So this is why it's not super important to me. But I want to make her happy. You know what I mean?
So the entirety reason that you're bringing this person back is as a favor to your girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You can probably debate this very easily.
Because my job here in this question is to play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
You don't know who this guy is.
I don't know who this guy
is. And you don't care who this guy is.
Well, to say I don't know who he is probably incorrect because I
Fair.
listened to some of the Who, you know.
I like the theme song to, was it CSI or NCSI?
Yeah. Is that Bob O'Reilly? You're talking about
Yeah!
I'm pretty sure that's Bob O'Reilly.
Yeah, that one.
So
seen that one or heard that one?
Heard that one. It's also the yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself in this situation, and they did that song too.
They did that song?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yep. Okay.
Don't want to get copyright strike from my amazing
acapellas cannot get copyright strike.
Well, anyways,
it's very cool. But yeah, no. Okay. Well, I think this is an incredibly now. Obviously, no disrespect to freaking John Entwistle. I'm sure he's a great guy. You know, he's obviously a very talented man.
Mm-hmm.
But out of the entirety of human history, I think this dude is. I think he's had his prime. I think he's done his thing. He's given the world excellent music. I'm certainly a fan of his music. What can he do in 2021? I don't know. Is rock going to make an amazing comeback in the following decade? I don't think so.
I mean, the Who is still around, so I'm sure they would like another member.
Well, if he's in his prime, he'll be like the youngest one in the band.
Probably,
so. But yeah, okay, all right.
Just that makes it all the better. He'll be around the longest.
I guess that is your guy.
Yep. So
who's my guy?
Yeah. Who's your number 5, Jake?
My number 5 person that I would bring back is I'm already going immediately out of left field. I'm already going straight into bizarre territory.
Hit me with it.
Hitting you. Homer, not the fictional character from The Simpsons. This is the man who scholars believe authored the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yep.
And probably a bunch more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Odyssey is my favorite book ever written.
Okay.
To me, it's easily one of the most influential ever, and it's a sequel to the Iliad.
Yes.
Why would I bring him back? Well,
Go ahead.
there are two answers. One, I'd love to see his face when he realizes how many modern day stories and modern day ways that we tell stories, like movies even, pay so much tribute to his writing. They literally build off the backs of that kind of storytelling where like a guy goes on an adventure and meets like 1,000 different gods from different stories that have already happened and then loops it all the way back around, come back to his wife and saving the day. That's a pretty great template. Two, there is a third epic in the series about Odysseus and Circe's son Telegonus called the Telegony. It is lost.
Yep.
There is a sequel to my favorite book of all time that is lost. We're bringing that back into existence. All right? We're going to say, hey, Homer, what the fuck is this story? There are two existing lines from this story that we know about, and auxiliary authors and poets from that time period have talked about that story, so we know a little bit about it from like a secondary source or two. But that's it. Tell us the story, write it down again, and then you can bring the world, you can literally bring back a lost epic, which is a sequel to my favorite story ever. So that's my pick for number 5.
Okay. I'll say a couple things to that.
Okay.
It's not a bad pick. It's not. That's a lot more personal to you, but
Sure.
that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And I'm sure there's things to learn. Of course, he has the lost story that you just said. However, this man has a whole language named after him. He literally. I just looked it up. He has Homeric Greek. You do not understand Homeric Greek.
I personally don't, but I'll be like, hey, Homeric Greek scholars of the world, of which there have to be some, just go ahead and let's communicate with this guy. Also, like, we're bringing him back. I guess, is it the question that, like, he's right in front of me in this room, and I have to, like, start him from scratch like he's a baby to understand and integrate with the culture?
Well, yeah, he doesn't understand English at all, Jake.
Oh, well, we'll get there. I guess we'll have to, like,
We'll get there. I'm assuming his prime. What? I mean,
okay, that's
how
something
long?
to make a
How
movie
long?
on.
How old was he? Because his prime might have been like when he's.
You know what? He lived few thousand years ago. Give me a break. We don't have fucking licenses back then. But
I'm assuming he didn't live past 50.
Probably not. That
so
was that was a gold standard.
Probably like 25. He's probably out of that range of being able to pick up another language.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised.
Who's gonna translate Homeric Greek to English so you can learn about this
it's
lost
already
story?
Been translated. The Odyssey has been translated into all kinds of languages.
Right.
So,
but that took a lot of time.
Just reverse engineer it. Probably take a few years. This man is alive in his prime. He's got years left. Wouldn't he want to make his stories relevant thousands of years later again? He could do it for another 1,000 years.
Again? I don't really see. First of all, he'd have to rewrite this third book that you're talking about.
He'd be like, oh man, I wrote the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Telegony, and 2 are in existence and 1 has been lost. Why not complete the trilogy forever?
What if he doesn't what if he doesn't want that third book to come out? Maybe it's lost for a reason.
He already made it. Why would he want it to come out if he wrote it?
Well, you never know. I mean, he could be like, oh, well, this compares nothing to like Twilight, you know.
Twilight. He reads Stephanie Meyer's Twilight. He's like, I'm done.
He's
I can't top it.
He's
can't
like,
top it.
No,
it's too good.
It's too good.
Okay, I will give it to you. In the event that he reads Stephanie Meyer's Twilight and is like, wow, you've upstaged me, Homer, then yes, he's a bad pick. But in any other case, he's a great pick.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because I really don't think that'll happen.
I feel like I feel like picking someone from like literally BC is not a good idea.
Well,
there's such a you gotta
Never mind. You're good. Keep going.
Anyways, I feel like picking someone from BC is probably not a good idea.
Yes, there is an integration period. Yes, it'll probably at least be a year.
At least.
At minimum.
At least.
Probably close to like 4 or 5. But after that period in time, once he's accustomed and cultured and we can communicate with him somehow because he's still human and intelligent somehow and created some of the best stories ever, he can just be like, oh, you have 2/3 of my trilogy, arguably the most influential trilogy ever. Let me go ahead and complete it for you. Boom. Done.
I don't want to rewrite this book. I'm lazy.
But he did it already. He'd just be retelling it. The work is done for him. He just said, do it again.
Kind of reminds me of like not to get religious, but like in the Mormon religion, someone burned his whatever the main guy in the Mormon religion was. Someone burned his Bible, so he rewrote it, but it was entirely different from the verse draft. But he like explained that as like, oh well, you know, God told me to change these things.
Yeah. Well, welcome to religion. You know, that's ancient religions all conflict with each other, even the same ones multiple times. Christianity.
Yep.
But,
so
yeah.
Not to be disrespectful.
Not
or
be
anything.
disrespectful.
If you're a Mormon, listen. I completely understand that. I completely
have fun with your 3 wives. You're not hurting at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So, whatever.
Only in the state of Utah.
Utah, great place.
Anyways,
who is your number 4 guy?
My number 4 guy.
Oh no, you're already laughing.
well, well, you know, I mean,
Did you go BC with this one too, or
no, I went relatively modern, like
okay?
someone that died within the past 5 years, I believe.
Oh, okay, that's pretty damn modern.
So so I'm you're gonna laugh probably,
Oh no.
but I want to bring back Stephen Hillenberg. Now you might be asking, who is Stephen Hillenberg? You might already
The
know.
name rings a bell.
He is the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh.
He died, I believe it was 5 years ago. I believe it
Mhm.
was in either 2016 or it might have been 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But he died of ALS.
Okay.
But he died right at the same time he was joined back to do SpongeBob again.
Okay.
And you know, I mean, you can argue that SpongeBob is past its prime and everything like that.
Yep,
But the
yep.
fact that the person that created SpongeBob and season 1 and 2 of SpongeBob is some of my favorite stuff on television,
Sure.
even to this day.
You're absolutely right about that. It's awesome.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
I would like to see what his plans for the franchise were.
Mhm.
There's also a lot of talk about you've probably seen some of the SpongeBob spin-offs that have started to come out. He's been quoted saying he doesn't think spin-offs would be a good idea. Even saying a Patrick Star show would not be a good idea because SpongeBob is the main character and all the characters work off of SpongeBob.
You're exactly okay. This is really weird. Bumblebee just uploaded on the channel recently. In that, we talked about why you shouldn't spin off material from a franchise that doesn't have an extended world.
Right.
Because, say, Bumblebee only ever interacts with the Autobots. So if you
Mhm.
make a Bumblebee movie, all the supporting cast is just going to be Optimus Prime.
Right.
And the war is going to be about Cybertron, the same shit in the Transformers series. If you make a Patrick Star show,
Which they did.
They did. And he's only ever interacted with the characters on SpongeBob. So it doesn't make sense. It's not like Marvel where Black Panther has decades of history.
Right,
and
right.
Ant-Man has decades. You have their own supporting cast.
So I want to ask him if his thoughts had changed at all on that.
Mhm.
You know, because
he resurrects, goes, no, and then dies again.
oh, I would hate to see that. But he's also worked on some of my other favorite cartoons. He's worked on Rocko's Modern Life, which I don't know if you've ever seen.
I've
But
not.
it's basically like beta SpongeBob.
Okay.
So it's still some really good stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, you know, there's also one more thing. Another SpongeBob spinoff that came out, Camp Coral, also conflicts with something that he said in the past. Nickelodeon wanted to make SpongeBob a child and put him in school to be more marketable towards kids.
Sure.
And he said no. And to kind of get away with that, they put him in boating school, which is the equivalent of driver's ed.
Sure.
So he would be an adult anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But in Camp Coral, they make SpongeBob a kid.
Sure. Yeah.
So I want to know his opinions on that kind of stuff too.
Okay. Well, can I already bring up some points too?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, did Hillenberg, before he passed away, because you said he was gonna do SpongeBob again, did he actually start doing SpongeBob again?
I think the season that came out right after he died, he did a couple episodes on.
Did he direct and write and stuff like that, or did he just show run?
Direct, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So he's actually done some new SpongeBob.
Yes.
Okay, that I didn't know that. Okay. Have you seen that stuff? Because I would.
I have seen that stuff.
I don't know.
I have
if...
seen some of that stuff, and it's it was definitely heading towards the right direction. I'll say that.
Because I was wondering, was SpongeBob brilliant for its time and timeless in that sense, but at the same time not being able to work in a 2021 context?
I don't know, because season 1 and 2 are very I can still go back.
They're great. They are so great.
They have not aged a day.
Yeah.
I will say they have not aged a day.
Animation has, but they have not. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely. But I don't know if the very specific timing and comedic style of SpongeBob, I don't know if you could do that again and have it be as great as it was. That's my kind of I don't know if the guy being behind the curtain has a whole lot, it obviously has a lot to do with that, but if that's really going to bring SpongeBob to what it was. Do you know what I mean?
It might not bring it to what it was, but I'd at least like to see what he was going to do with it.
Okay.
Because again, like I said, the episodes that he did have a hand on in the later years, the season that came out right after he died, were actually pretty decent. They were definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay.
So there's that. And again, I'd like to see all the other stuff. Like I mentioned, I want to see him talk about that and see if he's yeah, Nickelodeon kind of just disgraced me.
Mhm.
Like immediately after I died, they announced all this stuff, and I hate all of this. I'm putting words in a dead man's mouth,
No,
but
I
I'd
mean,
like to
yeah.
see what his thoughts on that kind of stuff is.
To kind of support you and obviously Stephen Hillenberg a little bit, not to stay on this topic too long, but
Mhm.
I was in a room one day. I think it was in a party of some kind, but
Mhm.
SpongeBob New was on.
Yep.
Like recent episodes, and I actually sat down, shut my mouth, and watched 2 episodes. I don't know what season, I don't know what specific ones. It might have been reruns anyway, but it was definitely new.
Yep.
Like brand freaking new. One of them was a cat holding its breath underwater, and it was a cultural sensation, but it actually had like a breathing machine, and it was Tracy Morgan as a cat. It was the voice of Tracy Morgan.
Yep.
Very not funny, very bad, very stupid, bad ending. And then the other one was every time Squidward got scared, he inked, like because he's an octopus.
Yes.
It was the joke from Finding Nemo as an episode, and it went
was
nowhere.
Fucking vile.
It went nowhere.
I know.
They
both
served it
episodes.
as a drinks.
I know both episodes that you're talking about.
Okay.
And no, Stephen Hillenberg did not have a hand in.
That was
either
not
of
my
those
question.
episodes.
I knew he didn't. There was no way he did.
Yeah.
If so, I'd be like, wow, this is the worst pick of all time, Joe Quinn. No, but no, I was watching that and I was like, wow, it's not that like I grew out of SpongeBob. SpongeBob really did tank.
Yes.
That's nowhere near anywhere. Like, I would not put that in the same conversation as like the first episode of SpongeBob with how great that is. Freaking anchovies.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, on that sense, you have a point there. So yeah.
So I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I thought you were gonna be more like, well, is it really worth it to bring someone like him back instead of just hiring new? I'm talking against my own pick at this point.
No, I mean, like, in that sense, I already kind of brought that up where it's like, I brought up a point where it's like, well, hey, could anyone bring SpongeBob back to where it was? But at the very least, if you bring Hillenberg back, it'll improve. I mean,
probably. I can't imagine it not improving.
How does it not improve if you bring him back?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the quality. Tracy Morgan as a cat and Squidward inking is like the quality of show we're talking. Yeah. So whatever, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard in those episodes. Maybe I'm not. But in any case, my number 4. Oh God, I almost don't want to do this, but I did it like out of pure confidence because I'm very headstrong about this.
Go right
I stand by this.
Go ahead. It's only your number 4, so you can't be that confident about it.
Well, that's why he's number 4. My number 4 is Adolf Hitler. Now I know what you're thinking. What the hell did Jake just say? Do we have to add massive implications after 6 episomes because Jake is a psychopath? No.
Holy shit!
If you will, please allow me to explain.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
I don't. I'm at a loss for words, so I won't be able to respond.
The question was posed that if I can resurrect someone, they're at the prime in their life.
Yep.
I am reviving Hitler in art school. You know what I'm going to do?
No.
I'm going to buy his artwork. I'm going to support him as an artist and support him creatively. I'm going to pat him on the shoulder and be like, good job, Adolf. This oil canvas looks great. I'm going to befriend him and make it my life goal to turn the tides in this man's mentality and maybe, just maybe, turn one of the worst men in all of human history into a good person. Or at the very least, I'm going to die trying. That is my life goal with this man. Because if I do that, can you imagine what that says about the conversation of nature versus nurture? Oh my God, the stuff we'd learn from that.
Oh my God.
That'd be incredible. Am I the only one who thinks this?
So I can kind of see what you're saying.
Oh, I feel like you're walking on eggshells so hard right now.
My thing against that is I feel like the hatred towards a certain
demographic of people
is kind of already planted in his mind at that point. Jake?
I'm pretty sure you're right. However, in the same sense that I forget the man's name, but he was... I think he's still alive, actually. But what he did, he was a black man who sat down and had a conversation with one of the leaders of the KKK. And it was like in a confined, I think it was like a jail cell context, because there was like a guard around because, you didn't want him to like attack the other or anything like that, or, whatever. But he had a conversation with him and it was very hostile, but he was very calm and he just wanted to know what that person thought. And he had it again, and the next day again, the next week again, and again and again. And eventually it evolved from like a guard setting to like a lunch setting. And then he came over his house to talk. And then eventually he turned in his robe. And that man has done that like 5 or 6 times to 5 or 6 KKK members. I want to do what that guy did to someone so much worse than one KKK guy.
That's the thing. He is so much worse.
He is. That's the ultimate goal. Like
Hitler. No, but here's the thing. You're bringing him back with all of his memories up to the point where he died. That's what we decided on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you said in their prime. I'm thinking prime Hitler.
No, you bring them back to an age where they were in their prime.
Oh.
But they still have all their memories from when they died.
Well, hold on.
Up to the point where they died.
I was hoping that, because I must have misinterpreted the question when we did this, because I assumed that it was in their prime, which I was going to pluck him straight out of art school, or in art school, technically.
Oh, God.
And I was going to see if I can mold him. And if he's any lick of a good person after I'm done with him, that's the ultimate win. How do you come back from that? That's so great.
It's such a monumental risk for such little gain. What can Hitler do?
I would argue that is not little gain. That is massive gain.
What can mentally for you? Like, yeah,
no,
I turned one of the
more than mentally.
I turned the worst human to have ever existed,
except for Stalin, maybe, or Genghis Khan. But go on.
Into a okay, decent guy who's pretty good at art.
Right.
No.
Yes,
no.
A man who did the horrible things that he's
it's
done.
It's not worth it.
You know what?
It's not.
I'm not saying this for like pride, like I did that. That is a part of it though. But I'm saying this more so for the fact that, like, what does that tell you about nature versus nurture? What does that tell you about what people can be in the right or wrong environments? Because scholars have theorized that his experience in art school led him down a political path.
Sure.
You know, like, those subjects aren't tangentially related, but that man's psychology brought it there.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
You can listen. You could say it all you want, but at what point are you just spraying it? Because
you could argue this whole show is spraying things.
True. But I feel like the risk is not worth it. And as you already said, with former KKK members that have given up their robes and like disbanded from the KKK, you already have that argument there, nature versus nurture. You don't need to bring back the ultimate evil. Jake, this is like willingly.
This is that man. My point is like,
this is like willingly, like summoning Satan. Like this.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do.
And then trying to be like, well, you know, maybe if I give Satan some ice cream, he could be a good guy. No, Jake.
First of all, Lucifer was an angel. Second off,
oh my God.
I'm using that argument. I'm pulling the Bible card. Second off, it doesn't matter. You could turn 1,000 KKK members to being on the good guy's side. That does not compare to one Hitler. Doesn't. So if you can do one Hitler, endgame. That's it. That's what I'm saying.
Jake, to try to bring back somebody so evil is like trying. This is like a scene. I haven't seen The Walking Dead, but there's an episode where a scientist is like, oh, well, maybe the zombie remembers some things from before it was a zombie. Let's try to get it to do some stuff. It actually might have been a Resident Evil movie.
Sounds like Resident Evil.
So, like, no, the reward is not worth the risk of zombification there. And then
well,
how would you explain? I'm sorry.
Let's be clear. Hitler.
Well,
even if I fail and he becomes his racist man, he's not gonna World War III. He's just a dude in America.
Look, he's not. It's not that he won't have power. It's just like how would the Jewish people feel?
Well, would we market it? I wouldn't publicize it. I would publicize Homer. I wouldn't publicize Hitler.
No. Okay.
But it's fine. It's fine. We can move on. I was just thinking that, like, hey, if we could do this, that would say so much about humanity and what we could do to humans. Or rather,
why
what humans
do. Why don't you bring back someone a little less evil?
Because that's not as incredible of an ask, incredible of a thing to do.
It's not as much of a risk.
Nothing would compare to doing that to Hitler.
Sure, but it's the risk is not worth it.
I can aim low and hit low. Why not aim high? I want to aim the highest target possible.
You want to bring back Hitler.
I want to do that thing that guy was doing to the KKK members, to the worst guy. That's all I'm trying to do. It's fine.
Awful.
That's it. That's
awful.
All right. Who's your number 3? We'll move on.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right.
The rest of my guys are good. Don't worry.
My number 3. Oh, my God. I'm just. All right. Okay. I couldn't pick between John Candy and Chris Farley.
God, I love them both so much.
I love them both too. And they're both very similar. They're both like comedic masterminds, right? So like you're kind of, I feel like it should be a 2-for-1 kind of deal. Because like they're both actors, but right before the both of them died, they were starting to go more into some like actual serious work.
Yep.
Like Yeah, you have Chris Farley. He was gonna do Shrek before Mike Myers took over the role.
He started doing Shrek,
but he was also doing he was gonna do like a biopic on like a very famous clown and like look at the dark side of that.
Yep.
So I'd like to see that movie come to fruition.
So did you settle on Farley out of the two of them?
Do I have to settle?
Well, let's play both idea. Let's go off this.
And I'll probably end up settling on Farley because I can't remember what movie John Candy signed on to do. But I know there's also something very serious. I could probably look this up, but it's not worth it. I'll just say Farley. I want to see what he could have done with a more serious role. He was turning his life around. He like just got off of drugs. He was losing a lot of weight, but I think maybe the combination of doing both at the same time was too much for his body to like handle the difference, and he suffered a heart attack and he just couldn't come back.
Okay.
I'd like to see what could have come of Chris Farley.
Damn, you know what? That's so hard to devil's advocate against because that's such a. I'm also a little bit biased here. I have a horse in the race. I fucking love Chris Farley. He's so great.
He's a great actor.
Tommy Boy is fucking brilliant. Yep. But you're right. He can be more serious, and like he's such a brilliant man. Like you look at like Spaceballs, his Barf, yep. Or was that John Candy? No, that was Chris Farley, right?
No, that was John Candy.
Damn, well, you said them both. It mixed me up.
sorry.
It's fine. No, Chris Farley. You look at like some of the stuff he's done, like Tommy Boy, for example. Mm-hmm. He's very smart as to what the comedic timings of certain scenes should be, and I feel like he could absolutely, like Jim Carrey, translate that to a serious role because I'm a big fan of The Truman Show. So yeah, that's an excellent pick. I'm trying to think of negatives against it. It's not as easy of a target as my number 4 pick, so it's harder for me.
The ultimate evil versus America's sweetheart.
Literally, that's like the topic we're switching gears to right now. But this is going to be a short pick because I have nothing to say.
All right.
Any hypothetical devil advocates? Because I don't even have any.
The only thing I can, I mean, you could be like, well, John Candy's a little more.
I have one devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
Shrek would be so different. I don't think it'd be as successful.
Well, here's the thing. I'm seeing this as like we're not bringing him back to 99 where he died. We're bringing him back to now.
Okay, so he
Farley
shows up.
could be like, yeah, release my original Shrek audio, but you don't have to make a different Shrek. You can
I think there'd be like the hashtag release the Farley cut, like Snyder cut.
Well, I mean, that's up to Farley. I'm sure DreamWorks would they would happily oblige if Chris Farley
came back and said, "Hey, please do this." There's no way they'd say no.
Right. Like we have some like the original Farley cut, like like one. I think we have one of the scenes voiced by him, and then like we have the original CG model. Really creepy, by the way.
It was weird. There's
really
like
weird.
the storyboards. It looks weird.
It was just.
But
weird.
Hey, it's an early model.
It's
Maybe
an early model.
Yep.
It could have changed, but as it is, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
You could have 2 different continuities of Shrek. You can have Illumination Shrek.
Right, what you're doing. No, you're right, because the whole point that the Snyder Cut didn't happen was because Warner didn't want to confuse the audience, even though they have fucking 8 Batman live action running around their universes. But whatever.
To be fair, adding the Snyder Cut does make it more confusing.
It does and it doesn't, but at the same time, that universe already had inconsistencies anyway, so it's not like it changes anything. But in any case, yeah, okay. Chris Farley's an awesome pick. Hell yeah.
All right.
My number 3 is Abraham Lincoln, famed vampire hunter.
Really?
In sharp contrast with my previous person. Abraham Lincoln is, of course, like one of the greatest politicians who has ever lived. I mean, this is an easy explanation. Not only could we get his opinions on modern day issues like abortion or George Floyd, but he could also offer the opinion of one of the most qualified men who could possibly offer an opinion.
Yep.
Oh, you don't think he's right about a certain political topic? You're really going to disagree with Abraham Lincoln? What slaveries have you abolished? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, this man has so much cred, the most possible clout.
Yep.
And he's also brilliant. Like, we're not talking about this fucking brilliant man. I'd love to hear what he has to say about a lot of modern day political issues. And I mean, people in modern day on the left and right, I think they could both probably support him. No matter what he has to say.
So my number 2 is Abraham Lincoln.
All right, then.
So let's just argue the pros and cons of bringing Abraham Lincoln back. I'll give you a con.
Okay, hit me.
Why not? Why Abraham Lincoln? If you're gonna bring a president back, why specifically Abraham Lincoln?
He's the best.
You can argue that he's the best, but you also have presidents like JFK.
I was gonna say K. Yep, he's great.
He was also going to do a lot for like the Black Civil Rights Movement before he passed away.
And the thing about both of them is that they both died before they had their chance to fully shine. Yep. They could have done so much more after that.
And the thing about both of them is they both lost their heads.
Yes. Literally, and also kind of in the political courthouse.
Yeah,
losing their minds. But yeah,
it's good to bring them back in their prime because Abraham Lincoln was taking mercury as like a medicine to help with his headaches. So
well,
he
in
was
modern day, a doctor would be like, "That's bullshit.
Yeah,
Here,
do
take
not-
this like lorazepam or whatever the fuck."
Yeah,
in modern
exactly.
day. That's actually
so
a
like
sleeper.
it's good that we're bringing them back in their prime and with no mercury poisoning.
Right. and then like the doctor could be like, "Wow, this is how you treated wounds 100 years ago or 200 years ago." Like, dude, just here's modern medicine at all.
Here's the thing. Abraham Lincoln, I think, is at that perfect age. He understands English. You don't have to reteach him anything, right?
Unlike Homer from BC.
He understands English.
Yeah.
And like even though like we've advanced a lot in the past 200 years, I feel like he could probably pick up very quickly.
Right.
One thing I'd like to see, and this has never been tested before, but could he rerun for president?
Did he only do one term?
He did 2 terms, but he never got to finish his second term due to his tragic passing.
Ooh, you know what?
There is no rule. Maybe there's
I'll tell you this. With Abraham Lincoln coming back, all rules against it would be technicalities that they would change just for him.
Yep.
Because I think he's literally, like, again, the clout, he is too important.
Do you think Abraham Lincoln would get elected in current day modern climate?
If he ran...
This is a good chance, honestly.
I don't see anyone else that could beat him on either party.
Who would vote against Abraham Lincoln?
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the most correct human being to possibly run.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see any way around it. He's too good. And again, like, oh, why not JFK? First of all, I think Lincoln did better than JFK. JFK has some strange stuff, but aside from that,
yeah, there was kind of the adultery
angle
of the
little bit of that.
JFK.
Yeah, and he also mishandled the space race a little bit. But like in any case, Lincoln, I think, was the man. I think this is, first of all, that fucking chin strap beard thing going on. That was crazy. The neck beard. I don't know what's going on with that one.
I just love to see him in his hat.
Bring him back. Bring that style back to the world. But yeah, no, I think everything about him is just a pro. And if your only real con is why not someone better, you're not even saying that he's a bad pick. You know what I mean? You're just saying that there are possibly better ones, which I would still contend he's the best.
I actually realized I messed up. My number 1 was Abraham Lincoln.
Well, now he's your number 2.
So all right. Well, maybe you're not gonna agree with me.
Well, hold on, because if I did 3,
yeah.
With
this
your
would
2,
be you would go next.
Because we teamed that one, so I'll just do number 2. My number 2 is you mentioned him as a joke earlier, Albert Einstein.
Really?
Yeah, this man was pushing the boundaries of our scientific understanding right up to the final moments of his life. I would love nothing more than to take a man like Einstein, who broke so much ground with general and special relativity and even a little bit of quantum mechanics, and sit him down, catch him up on the past 100 years of modern science that he's missed, which builds off the back of his equations. Imagine the man's face when you tell him how predictive his works and findings have been in the world of physics. And of course, the best part, mans would continue to break ground with all of the new elements of theoretical physics that nobody was even aware of back then. Oh my God. Apply his brain to like dark matter and see what happens. Also, a side note, his final words were said on his deathbed, but his nurse was the only other person in the room and she didn't speak German. So, hey, Einstein, what were the last words you said before kicking the can?
All right.
You know?
I got a pretty big negative against bringing back Einstein.
Damn.
And we actually talked about this a little bit in the What If Everybody Was Immortal episode.
Okay.
Where like I think we actually brought Einstein up as an example. You can only know so much before the information in your brain starts getting overwritten. Trying to teach a man like Einstein who already knows so much, how can you do that without him just completely forgetting the original stuff he's learned?
Well, because he died at 76, and the question I incorrectly assumed, it's phrased that they know the entirety of their life and then are brought back in like what, 30-year-old self or whatever, 25-year-old prime. And so that's only an extra 50 or so more years after this point until he, expires of old age. That's not that much more memory. It's not like immortality is like thousands of years in our context. After the 900th century, you'd be like, oh shit, who am I?
Right.
But it's a lifetime and a half is what I'm giving him.
Right.
That's how I see it anyway.
I just don't think there's much more he can learn, and you'd have to teach him all the stuff. You'd have to teach him all the stuff from like where he left off. And that would take such a long time in general. And you can argue that it's Einstein. He's a genius.
His last name is synonymous with the term genius. That's how much of a genius he is.
However, like he's a genius by those standards. I would argue that any run-of-the-mill, physicist today is probably smarter than Einstein.
Well, you're right and you're wrong in the sense that they know more than he did. Yes, because they've had the leg up by like a century, but their brain is not like Einstein's. Otherwise, they would be a present day, like a Stephen Hawking, for example, like a present day Einstein. And we could bring him in. His brain is already like his because it is his. He could take, after, you're right, learning for years our current knowledge and our humanity and all this stuff. After having learned that, give him a few years to just catch right up with his equations and how far they've come, because they've come pretty far. And it's all
really far.
And they're all based off of his original formulas. They're all just extensions that he was searching for. He's now got them. He can now say, okay, where are our frontiers? Oh, dark matter makes up 85% of the gravity we measure in space. We don't know what it is. Holy crap. Let me start calculating that. Let's look into our new telescopes. Let's do new cool stuff. That's awesome.
I personally, the way I see it, I just don't think he's going to be much use.
I think even if he's not much use, he'll still be a legend. And he'll still, because even up to his death, he was doing like new papers. But there was one year where he wrote like 4.
He's written all those papers, and those are already out there for us to learn. And like the next Einstein,
yep,
they can learn that information. They can work off of that. We don't need to bring back Einstein to do any of this. Look at how much progress we've done without him.
Well, based off of what he's done.
Right. But to have to bring him back, catch him up, and then the possibility that he could do more. Yeah, there's a possibility, but it's not set in stone. It's not guaranteed.
Well, what if Lincoln doesn't want to be a politician? What if Chris Farley wants to take a break? He already died.
I'm not saying Albert Einstein wouldn't want to continue the science. I'm just saying, is his contribution to science really going to be of much importance?
I think it'll be important.
Back to modern day.
I absolutely think so, and I'll lay out why. Because it is less so about, with bringing him back and bringing his mind back, it's less so about the literal facts like relativity in general and special relativity. It's more so about the fact that he deduced them and he realized, there's a big question in science and mathematics is mathematics invented or discovered? It's a yes and no depending on how you think about it, but he invented / discovered E = mc squared. He invented it, sure, but it was only based off of the world we live in reality. So there's so much more to be invented / discovered. It's not like we know everything. We wish we did, but we don't. So now that we're like, the frontiers that he was facing, some still exist. Quantum mechanics, we're still a little bit fuzzy on that one. But even still, we've found the God particle, so to speak, in a certain sense. But we've already determined how electrons behave. They teleport in and out. There's certain subatomic particles and all this stuff. So if he knows that now, which he probably didn't know then, or facts like it. I'm not a physicist, I'm just paraphrasing. But if he knows that stuff now based on what we've discovered over the past 100 years, he can now take that and go, okay, well, since this is the case, let's run some numbers this way and advance that. Because he was advancing stuff basically his entire career, which is why I think he wouldn't stop. That's kind of my argument for that one.
I see what you mean, but I don't think that's how it would go. Personally, I don't think you would be able to catch him up, and once you finally do catch him up, he'll be like, okay, well, basically you guys forgot this variable, and this opens a whole new world up. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he was great because of the time he was in, but now we have people way smarter than him, and you can say that's because they have the opportunities based on his previous work. But that's kind of just how it goes.
I don't think they're...
I think your brain can only know so much information. And yeah, Albert Einstein, a great, brilliant scientist, sure. But you bring him to modern day and bro, I'm learning what E = mc squared is, bro. You're what do you mean? Get out of here. You're not of that much use.
I think it would be worth giving him a shot. That's what I'm saying. I think it's totally worth to find out that question.
I see someone who's not a scientist to bring someone bring Abraham Lincoln back. Abraham Lincoln, he's not a scientist, but there's so much he could tell us so many stories basically from back then like stuff that wasn't written down.
Yep.
Because like no one thought of writing it down. Like the difference between now and modern day time, Albert Einstein's a little too like early.
Yep.
There are people like from Albert's time that are like still around today, so we don't need to know any information like from that. He can tell us his personal stories, but like that's not really gonna like do much for like the world, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way I see it. Like I mean, you want to bring him back, I just can't see any much use of it. So
okay, well, we'll have to disagree on that one. I think it was almost my number 1, but I moved him back to number 2 right before the episode started.
Very interested to see what your number 1 is. I messed up. I put Abraham Lincoln as 2 by accident.
That's fine because we had the discussion together about him, so it's fine. It kind of worked.
It worked out, but
who's your number 2/1?
My real number 2, but the pick I'll go with last because I messed up. It's Satoru Iwata. Now you might be asking, who is this guy?
I am.
He was the former CEO of Nintendo.
Okay.
He died in 2015 of I believe it was some sort of stomach cancer.
Okay.
And the reason why I want to bring him back is when he left Nintendo, it was such a dark place. Like the company, I don't know if you remember much of the Wii U.
Not really big into the company politics, but so refresh me a little bit.
The Wii U was a total failure. There were a lot of reasons why. The marketing wasn't really there. The games weren't really there. The system was super underpowered. But before Iwata died, he basically laid the groundwork for the Switch.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't even have to tell you that the Switch put Nintendo back on the map again.
Right. And what year did he pass away?
2015.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
So really, relatively recent. I picked mostly recent people.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with that.
The way he laid the groundwork to basically bring Nintendo back from like the dead. He also was a huge hand in the Wii.
Yep.
Like remember, the Wii was a major success. So like he gave us the Wii. He basically gave us the Switch. I would like to see what he could do with more time. There's that. I'd also like to see, this might sound weird, but Nintendo has changed. Nintendo has become more of like maybe not a monopoly is not the right word, but they've like gotten a lot greedier with their practices.
Sure.
The way they're releasing games is just kind of...
I've heard crappy things about them.
Yeah, it's kind of getting gross. It's not the Nintendo that I grew up with. During the Iwata era, it kind of felt like, and you shouldn't think this about companies, but it kind of felt like Nintendo was your friend. They were your guy. Yep. Like you back their products, they're gonna like make you feel good about it. But now you have like games like Animal Crossing that are coming out and they're not finished. They'll be like, oh well, we'll finish it like years down the line. And I don't like seeing those practices. That's what I expect from companies like EA and Activision, like your Call of Duties being like, oh well, here's like 3 maps in the game, but like you can buy for $20, you can buy like the rest of the maps and like, you know, all these microtransactions that you probably like. I don't want to see that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not to talk instead of you, but I do want to add to your point a little bit. But Shadow of War, the sequel to Shadow of Mordor, is easily one of my favorite games ever. It would be so much better than it is if it didn't have all the stupid fucking microtransactions. And I was lucky because I bought it late. I bought it like I think a year after it came out. After they've already gone back, because they got so much backlash. Yeah, they literally, I logged into the game and I got so much free DLC, and I was like, wow, how generous. And it was because people backlashed for them selling it. People complained right up the butt. So it's like, wow, okay, cool. I lucked out because I got it after the fact. It's like how No Man's Sky is a great game now. Because they've already had all those patches and DLCs and upgraded everything.
The thing is, a game like No Man's Sky, they had to do those patches and updates. Otherwise, their company would die because no one would buy their game.
Right.
A company like Nintendo, they don't care. They already have your money. You already bought the Switch. You probably already bought like the games that came out initially for it. They don't care. They already have your money. So they don't have to listen to you. You can complain all you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to matter much because they're not going to listen to you. I feel like it was very different when Iwata was around because the company, again, they just felt friendlier.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So that's why Satoru Iwata is my number 1/2 pick.
Okay. Well, to play devils a little bit.
I expect you to play devils.
There's a little bit of devils I can do. What the hell can he actually do now that would kind of improve Nintendo? Because Nintendo is kind of still like that, and all of their consoles and games and stuff like that are still designed to do the evil things you're talking about. 'Cause, like, unless like he's literally coming back to be like, okay, no DLC, make it free like Shadow of War. Like, unless he's gonna do that, like, I don't know what he can possibly do.
The way I feel like he would, it's kind of hard to say. I feel like there are things that he could do, and you're not. This might sound rude, but you're not as like deep a Nintendo fan.
You're right. Yeah, that's
because
fair.
like I don't think you have owned a single Nintendo console. Not that there's a problem.
No,
with that.
I'm familiar with the Wii. My neighbor had it. We played it a lot as kids, but I don't personally own any.
But
Nintendo
like
stuff.
I've seen the company like evolve like through the past like 5 years, and it's gotten like it's gotten kind of gross, and I think that has to do with a huge part of him passing.
Okay.
All
right, well, I can't blame you there. I mean, like, the moment Bob Iger resigned as CEO, freaking Bob Chapek took over, and then like the next year Disney screwed over Scarlett Johansson, and there's this big lawsuit, and I just can't imagine, because Bob Iger literally did so much awesome things to Disney. I can imagine him sitting at home retired watching the suit against Scarlett going, God fucking damn it, this fucking replacement guy, I can't even stand it. But you're talking about something worse. He passed away, you know? So in that context, it's like, well, if he were back, what would he be able to say about it, you know? So I see your point there.
So with that, Jake,
I guess I'm concluding here with my number one.
What's your number one?
So you know how you're like, oh yeah, I picked mostly recent guys.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. The consensus of the sorry, I'm trying to get through this. I'm laughing too hard. The consensus of the entire world, whether you're religious or atheistic or anything in between, is that Jesus Christ was a real person. If we bring this fool back, we can hear from his point of view the exact minutia of what happened 2,000 years ago. So many debates instantly settled, including ones that'll never be settled because aside from the fucking Bible, we have no way of knowing what the hell actually happened. Bring him back, and I guarantee you, we will be learning quite a bit about this dude and the events of that time period that influenced pretty much like what, over 50% of modern European coming to America conquering culture.
Yeah,
we were crusaders, hundreds of years ago. That's kind of our thing.
The reason why we came to America was for religious freedom. We want, like, they practice a slightly different religion. Again, they said they both thought the same God was real.
Right.
They just had slightly different ways of practicing it.
And there are plenty of worldwide things that Christianity has dominated, like the calendar.
Yep.
It's a Christian calendar.
Yep.
It's all about Christmas at the end. Like, it's a very big deal. So Jesus Christ, that's my pick.
Jake, I can't argue with that. Like, I didn't want to. I'll just tell you right now, I did not want to pick that because like that's such like a big burden.
Well, the thing is, if you're asking me what's the number one person I'd bring back besides family members. Who better? I'm not
arguing against you.
And to be clear, and not that it's really that relevant, but I personally am atheistic. I'm not really a religion of any kind. That being said, Jesus Christ is maybe the most influential human ever. Probably ever to this day.
Probably.
So bring him back, get that context, know what the hell happened, and learn from history. Let's get that going.
I love how your picks include Hitler and Jesus Christ.
On the same list. They're like 3 spaces away from each other. In the same conversations. Well, I mean, to be fair, and you can't argue this, they're both incredibly influential.
If you can bring back both of these people at the same time,
I
feel like if there's anybody who could save Hitler, it would be Jesus Christ.
Well, let's play pretend that Homer, Adolf Hitler, Albert Einstein, Jesus Christ, and Abraham Lincoln
all walk into a bar,
have a sit-down conversation. That, whatever TV show that is, first of all, I want royalties. Second, I will watch every episode twice. Please just show their conversation.
Oh my God.
But yeah. No, yeah, so Jesus Christ.
It's
checkmate.
like the it's like the reunion we've never asked where,
Yeah.
Like remember like the Fresh Prince reunion or like the Friends reunion, they're all sitting at the table and they're just talking about like stories of the past.
Yep.
Like imagine
Jesus Christ. First of all, when you play Devil's Advocate, you're literally playing it, so have fun. Go nuts.
I'm not. That's an idea. You should write that down.
I did. That's in my notes. That's why I did. I had to.
All right. Well, I think think that's a really good place to wrap that up because I don't think we're gonna top that.
I appreciate that.
At some point, we'll probably bring back like another. We'll probably do this again. Bring back another 5 people.
We'll bring back another 5 people. We'll do this like a sequel.
Yeah. This is definitely a topic that warrants a sequel.
Absolutely.
And in fact, to relate to that, I'm kind of buying time while I go to
the comments.
The comments.
Well, why are you going to the comments, Joquin? What would be the reason?
Well, I'll tell you.
All right, I'll tell them. You see, every week after our main topic show, we of course bring up the comments from the last week episode, and we pick the best ones, or most of them, or all of them if we feel like it. We have veto power, but if they're good comments, we'll rate them out.
Right.
So we have a few responses to our last episode. By the way, if you want to get your comment on this episode read out aloud on the next episode, first of all, don't be an idiot. Don't put a stupid comment. But also, comment right below, right now, right here on this video,
Who
episode 6.
Who would you bring back? Do you agree with the people that we're bringing back? Do you disagree? Let us know. We want to hear it, people.
How wrong am I for bringing back the worst guy ever? Please tell me.
Please
vocalize it.
Please disagree with Jake for wanting to bring back Adolf Hitler.
Okay, well, I don't. When you phrase it like that, it makes me sound like a crazy person. But in any case, we have some comments here. 2 are from CatPoop66, which I recognize and you recognize because he is your Potato Cast co-host. Let's start with him.
Yes. So read the first comment first.
I'll get this going. I'll go with.
We'll
The topic of the episode was what would you do if you cloned yourself?
Yep.
And Jason, CatPoop66, had a lot to say. I have a big comment from him. A lot of the scenarios depended on knowing which one the clone is. Sorry. Or like when Jake takes out one of the Joquins, he wants the survivor to reveal if they were the clone or not. But how would either one know which other's clone? Okay, I have an answer to this question. We'll get to that in a minute. They both share the exact same memories from before the clone appears. Unless I missed something, I don't think the clone has an ID card, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to say blah, blah, blah. I'm just paraphrasing his thought.
I got you.
If you take a DNA test, it's the exact same, so you can tell them apart anyway. So why wouldn't the clone think he's the authentic? He has all the memories, and thereby he knows that they're the original. They can't really know. Okay, all right. To answer this question, yes, everything up to the point where you're cloned is identical, including your genetics.
Yep.
Everything after that point is pretty clear. I mean, the question was phrased that, like, let's say in this room, poof, a Joquin appears.
Right.
That Joquin would know that he appeared out of nowhere.
Just appeared out of nowhere.
Right.
And then like me, Joquin, would be like, that clone just appeared out of nowhere.
Right. And you two would both know who's who because you'd be aware of that situation. Yep. So when I murder a Joquin, go back and watch the episode if you're missing the context here. But when I murder a Joquin on random and the other one approaches me, he can say, hey, I appeared out of nowhere, or hey, I watched myself appear out of nowhere.
Right.
So I would just want to know out of curiosity at that point. But no, there's every experience after the cloning process is a different experience from the other, and they can relate that. And your clone, Steve, he's coming back. Steve can be like, man, Joquin was such an asshole. Or you yourself can be like, man, my clone was such an asshole.
Man, I was such an asshole.
Man, I'm an asshole in general.
No, we probably could have. I think we should have explained the concept a little bit more. I think we kind of glanced over that.
We did glance.
I think we said in the episode, but it was like literally just like right there.
I think you and I both keep a conscious mind to keep the pacing decent, long, but quick in a sense. In the sense that like this topic could go on for days. Every topic we do could go on for days, to the point we're making sequel episodes all of a sudden. We're going to revisit some stuff. CatPoop66, first of all, thank you again for commenting more than once. He said that I feel like the best way to see if the clone would go to LA. For context, I would have one of my plans was to have my clone go to LA, try and be a successful industry man, and then I would stay at home and live like a normal, safe, successful life. And then after the trying, the clone either gets big into the industry or comes back home and he's safe here and nothing's really a consequence. That was kind of removing the consequence from that. He said, I feel like the best way to see if the clone would go to LA is for Jake to turn the tables on himself and ask, would I go out to LA to pursue my dreams if my clone stayed behind en masse? If so, then maybe the clone would feel the same way. But if Jake himself wouldn't be, then I don't think the clone would. You have an excellent point.
And I completely agree with you, Jason. That was basically the argument I was saying to you during the episode.
And what I would say back, because I don't feel like I addressed that at all. Thank you for writing that in, Jason. But you're right. I would feel much more inclined to do it if I wasn't actually risking my Massachusetts life. And I wouldn't be if I literally had a copy of me continuing that life.
So you would be the one to go to LA.
Well, pretending one of us is the clone, one of us is the real me. So, but they have the same me consciousness. So, like, if let's just say it's real me here, clone in LA, whatever, doesn't matter. We're the same person. So, real me would stay here, but then I clone me, like the second me, because I have the same consciousness. I'd be like, okay, cool. So real me is in Massachusetts. All of the risk of leaving is removed. So all I'd have to do, I being proverbial we, both of us, we just have to remove what, $5,000-$10,000 from our bank account just to get us started, get a foot in the door, get out of here, spend 10, 15, whatever years, talk every day on FaceTime if we want to, and keep updates on our life, try and get in the industry. And in Massachusetts, if I come across like fucking, I don't know, a Spielberg of the world, and I can be like, hey, texting my clone, hey, I found a producer guy, here's his number, and we can work in cahoots a little.
Yep.
But in LA, opportunities galore, I can try and get in there. And yes.
Okay, let me ask you this. Yes or no? Would you go to LA and would your clone stay here? Just because I feel like if you say anything other than yes, you won't do it. And therefore your clone will not do it.
Can I say something that removes the emotion from the question? I don't think it matters because we're the same.
Okay, so you go to LA.
Sure, that could be. But my point is it doesn't matter because either way, Jake Camara, is staying here and Jake Camara, is going to LA.
It doesn't matter from the sense that, like, if you remove all emotion from it, sure, it doesn't matter which one goes. But would you leave your clone here and then you go to LA? Because if you say anything other than yes, then you won't
I'm thinking it over. The only person I trust to live my life, this is selfish, is myself. So yeah, it's another myself. It's the only I wouldn't have like Ian, date my girlfriend and live my life. I would have another Jake Camara date my girlfriend and live my life.
That's all I wanted to know.
Right. And at the same time, like I'd say, hey, my girlfriend, her name is Lily, by the way. Hey, Lily, I would, go to LA and do fun stuff, but a literal copy of me with my consciousness, with all of our memories is here for you. And it's the same exact thing. There's no difference. So everything proceeds as normal. Just know that there's another me in LA trying to make it big. And that's it. Done. But yeah, no, I would feel comfortable because I would know that no one else in the world, except for maybe Joaquin and Steve, have this opportunity. So that'd make me unique in a certain sense. And that would give me some kind of leg up over the rest of the people in LA who are very, very attractive trying to be actors and actresses.
Yes.
That's the whole crew. Have you ever been to LA? It's weird, and this is going to sound like an insult. It kind of is, but it's a very vain place in the sense that everyone there is only trying to advance their own goals and projects.
Right.
Very few are there just to live life. Most are there to try and get you to give them money for their movie or something, or hire them.
Right.
And I understand that mentality, but that just means that I'd be one of like a billion freaking people doing that. And having that power of having another me safe at home while I'm losing money, losing time, losing opportunities, trying to get them, that makes me more secure. And then after the 10, 15 years, I come back and I say, hey, other me, I burned through the whole investment. I tried. I got a few things off the ground, but nothing really landed. Come back here. We're wrapping things up. We're going to live an awesome life together. And then other me would be like, hell yeah, because I would be like, hell yeah, and I'm me. So yeah, that's how that would go. So I guess the answer, the long-winded answer, short version, yes. So to answer that, Cat Poop 66, thank you for commenting, and you make an excellent point, a few excellent points actually. So I appreciate that. The Ling God, usual guy Ling God says, "Dang, never knew you guys look so handsome. You should have known. My voice is spectacular. Could only come from a very handsome man."
I don't think I'm so handsome, but I'll accept the compliment.
He's a longtime fan. He's a big fan of it. So this is pretty cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. Linda Matua says, if I clone myself, I would take any day off and my twin will go to school. Now, you're right, and we talked a little bit about that, more so with like a job, and that was the question of like, do you work two jobs but will get the same time off because you're just working one job each person, or do you work the same job you are in alternate days? Alternate days approach is not bad. It's the safe option because you're not like trying to, you need 2 social security cards, you need 2 identities, stuff like that. You're just trying to live life and keep it secret. And that's multiplicity. It's right. Michael Keaton had it right, but did it wrong. I still contend. And then the final comment, Brent Robinson, who is
Let me read this one.
okay. I see why you want to read this one.
So I'll read this one first before I say anything about it. Someone want to tell Joquin how a human zygote forms. All of our sperm and eggs are not identical. For instance, a couple with two sons does not produce genetically identical brothers. If he were a natural born and genetically productive hermaphrodite, it would be incest genetically as much if he were doing his/her hermaphrodite genetic twin.
Okay.
So I looked at this comment. I don't first of all, I don't want to sound rude whatsoever, because that's not the kind of person I am. I appreciate your comment, and I bounced this around a couple different ways in my head. Like, yes, of course sperm and eggs are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. However, I posed a very strict hypothetical saying that if I could give birth to myself, then it would be me. That's a hypothetical.
Also, I want to point this out too. Like, let's say that you could give birth to yourself, like you Joquin and Joquin mate with Joquin to produce Joquin. You're right. I lean more towards Joquin's point than Brent Robinson's point, because there has never been a case where two identical adult clones, not twins, but clones, somehow reproduced.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a human zygote. Yeah, sure, genetically it might be the same, but it's not identical.
Right.
Genetically the same does not mean identical. We share genes in commons with freaking bananas.
Yes.
You know, if you trace evolution that far back.
96% same DNA as a banana.
Right. And, you know, human twins exist, and they're not genetically identical. They're okay. To be clear, this is going to sound stupid. Yes, their DNA is the same. I totally recognize that. They are formed from the same, what is it, allele, when the stem cell breaks and there's two things?
Something like
whatever.
that.
They're from the same...
Basically the egg splits.
The egg splits and there's two of the same thing. Okay, cool. That's all well and good. But even with twins, there are differences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one might have like a certain thing in a certain place. Their nose might have formed a certain way. The parents know twins immediately by looking at them.
Right.
Parents of two Joquins that are identical clones would not know you two apart.
Yes.
Unless you have a haircut that's different. But like, there's nothing about you that would actually change.
Yeah.
So by that logic, you win, Joquin. I'm pointing at you. You have that argument because we're talking fantasy levels of being the same.
Yes.
As opposed to realistic levels of being the same.
And my point there was to just say, like, if I have a clone that has the exact same DNA,
mm-hmm.
that hand that he's using on me is basically my hand. Therefore, I consider that masturbation.
And not incest, of course.
And not incest.
And one more point, just to wrap this up a little bit. Again, I'm with you. I'm a nice person. Thank you for commenting. Very much appreciate that. I do have to mention, though, I don't know if you meant it like kind of in jest or joking, but that first sentence is incredibly rude. So let's just, someone want to tell Joquin? That's a little bit rude.
I bounced around a couple ways in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm perfectly fine with how he said it. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
Again, we're reading text. Maybe the verbal connotation would have been nicer.
You can't tell connotation over text.
You can't tell connotation.
You cannot.
You're right.
That's why sarcasm over the internet is such a hard thing to like try to comprehend.
Right.
grasp.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like I feel no ill will towards you.
Me neither.
And I hope in that sense you also feel no ill will towards me.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
So with that,
we are wrapping up.
Jake, where can people find us online?
I'll tell you where they can find us online. You can find us on social media, hot quality content at Jake Camara.
Mm-hmm.
I know it does not are at hot quality, but like the thing is, usually on social media sites at hot quality content is too many characters. I still can't get that Twitter handle. I think it's 4 or 5 too many characters. So at Cake Jamera is my personal handle, and I use that for the channel.
And you can find me at 12star. Spelled out. I actually just released part 1 of my Ultimate Sonic series review. Not series review. Of my ultimate quote-unquote Sonic the Hedgehog review. If you watch the video, you'll understand what I mean. And I'm also at the Potato Cast, another podcast, but it's more of a variety show.
Yep.
So definitely check that out if you want to hear more from me. Jake actually was in 2 episodes, so if you want to hear more from him too.
Yep. And I do want to mention this also while you're plugging things about yourself. That Sonic review, that Act 1 thing you're talking about, that's like the 2nd or 3rd actual produced video essay with editing and all kinds of tricks like that and audio and stuff. Because you've edited podcasts. Yep. You've edited half of this show, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that as like one of your first essays and stuff like that, that's like so much better than the first kind of videos I was making. I'm really impressed to see what you've done.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see where you're gonna go.
Means a lot.
Yeah,
It actually really does mean a lot.
I'm seriously, as a guy who's been doing this for years, that is some high level stuff. I can't wait to see more.
I wanted to make sure before I release anything that it would be a level of quality that I'm satisfied with.
Right.
But at a certain point, you also have to put something out. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything done.
Right. You're totally right. I've been writing a book for a year and a half or longer. I don't even know anymore. So, it's been too long.
But I think, join us in 2 weeks for more Massive Implications. Jake,
Episode
it's
7.
Your topic next time. We're not going to reveal it now, but...
We never do.
But
it'll be a banger because I always make good things every single time.
Certainly do. And with that, we will see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks, baby.